Hello, here, Clixland. Welcome to Talking Clix. As always, I'm your host, Westpool. Joining me today is Ethan Jacobs. Hello, Ethan.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, man. Good. So you are just finding out about my podcast for the first time, my YouTube channel. I was telling you a little bit about it. I'm just interviewing players in the community, trying to get to know you a little better. I'll start you with an easy one. Tell players something about yourself that they probably don't already know.
It's generally well known throughout the community, but I am a disabled vet.
Well, thank you for your service.
Yeah, no problem.
Um, what is the best sandwich?
Best sandwich, I personally prefer a really good, well done Philly cheesesteak.
Oh, okay. Have you gotten one from Philly before, or
I've had a couple through Philly, and there's a guy who was originally from Philly, moved to Rapid City, South Dakota, and opened up a sub shop. And then he's like, you know what? I miss my cheesesteak, so he actually started doing cheesesteaks, and yeah, it almost identical to the ones I'd had in Philly. So.
awesome, awesome. Um, so I know that speaking of sandwiches, that you've had a little bit of a beef, and I just finished listening to your podcast on Clix. Um,
Yep.
so, uh, what you explained your beef with them pretty well, pretty fluently. But what would be your recommendation for a fix?
As far as the fix goes, if WizKids was a little more upfront, like one of my biggest gripes has been pulling cable from the Cupid Deadpool
Mm-hmm.
clicks.
Yep.
Like they Shadow did that, they updated the solicit, and they didn't let any of the shops know. So I actively called like Cool Stuff, I called Troll and Toad, I called all the local stores I knew in the area, and some I'd been to. I was like, hey, just so you know, this product that you're advertising for pre-sale to your guys says XYZ. Well, they removed the X from it.
Right.
And they're like, oh, well, we didn't know that. I was like, you might want to reach out to your player base or people that have ordered this stuff and just give them a heads up and like maybe give them the option to like adjust their stuff. So going forward, as far as with WizKids, if they were more open about it and, you know, it's that communication. They've been better about it some years, but as they've restructured the company, there's been other issues as far as communication goes. Um, we all know and love Ryan Oplick, right? He's
Right.
been great
He's
for the
amazing.
community, but when you ask him like, "Hey, why is this happening?" Like they don't even fully communicate in the company. It's not like I know, but I can't tell you because the company says I can. It's
Right.
I don't know. It's like they they just haven't told me. That's the response you'll get. I haven't got to talk with Dova at all. I haven't been at any events since she's been hired. But it's kind of the same thing. She's in charge of the events, and I heard about the world's debacle with the overflowing trash, the flies everywhere. Like I
Right.
guess they didn't have like the air system on for one of the days, and it's like, you know, why?
I will say,
And one of
a lot of players tend to get on their high horse with kids overall about every little gripe. I feel like they because they're kind of the fall guy for everything that goes wrong because they're whiz kids, right? But there's
Mhm,
so many moving parts that go into everything. I just ran my first event last November, the Red, White, and Clicks event,
mhm.
and while everything went smoothly in the end, it almost didn't a thousand times over.
Yeah.
And
And you can actually take
a lot of things
you
that
can
could have
take.
went wrong,
Oh, sorry.
a lot of things that could have went wrong weren't was kids' fault. Um, Alliance and Diamond had a lot to do with it. Um, uh, Entities I had to work with to get things set up had to do with it. It was just a lot of moving parts, but in the end, it would have looked bad on Wiz kids or me personally, even if there's things outside of our control. So, like, I know there like these tariffs and
One.
stuff
I,
are affecting
oh yeah,
things.
that's gonna be an issue.
Yeah.
But like with your event, like the reason you probably had a little bit smoother time is I had hosted an event in October,
Mm-hmm.
and We were told by, I won't name names because it was quite higher up, but we were told our event was used as a litmus test,
Yep.
and we were told straight up that WizKids failed how they were handling it, and they're going to be um, giving like SKUs to Diamond Alliance for tournament kits. So then there can be WizKids prized events with the LEs and everything. I just don't know how they've gotten as far as implementing that. Because with our event, we dealt directly with WizKids. Ryan was my contact person. We started back in Adepticon last year and
Mm-hmm.
really getting the ball rolling. And then a week before the event, we hadn't heard anything. We were paid up, and we got told, oh yeah, we're not going to get you your stuff on time. Well, this is unacceptable. What we can do about it? And someone named Jeff, I don't know where he falls in the company, but he's like, well, basically, screw you. I canceled your payment. You're not getting it. I reached out to Ryan. I was like, hey, what can we do? He sent it up the ladder. And then we ended up dealing with, again, that higher up name I won't drop just because
Mm-hmm.
don't want any sort of legal issues going on. But essentially, it came down to, well, it's their name on the line now. They guaranteed us it was going to happen. I had posted some pretty critical Facebook posts about them, and I was asked, can you please remove those? I followed through. We had confirmation. Yep, it's going to be there on Friday. Thursday rolls around, we get the tracking, and it wasn't supposed to show up until Tuesday.
Hmm.
And when I contacted the higher up, they were absolutely livid because I guess the biggest issue is like the shipping department doesn't really communicate with anyone else, and they kind of do their own thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so that became the real big issue. It wasn't just like the people in charge; it's that one cog was just like, not my problem. So the shipping department absolutely hosed everyone in that whole ordeal. It was the point where I had people cancel their plans that were coming in. What was supposed to be roughly a 30 to 45 people event became 12.
Right.
And the store, um, I had worked with them. We were on the hook for this event for $2,800, and I think after finally selling all the product that didn't get used for pricing, we finally broke even, and it's March. So I mean, as far as my issues with WizKids, they're taking steps to improve them. One
Mm-hmm.
of my other issues has been the sculpts. You know, they promised us when they bumped the price up to the 17.99, more dynamic and larger sculpts. Up until Spider Verse, we hadn't had those. Spider Verse, I think, is where things are really correcting, and I think especially like the chases, they look amazing. Even some of the Kerr, like the sculpting on them is just great. The Venom looks like good old school '90s comics Venom. It's awesome.
I I I wonder. I've heard communication is a big issue, but I also wonder if too much communication would be a problem. Also, like the Deadpool cable issue. Um, is,
Like if it's a legal thing where like Marvel's like, hey, you can't do it.
yeah,
That's all I'd require is like, hey, um, legal issues with Marvel, we can no longer do it. Perfect. Don't need anything beyond that. It's
right.
they've been told they can't do it, and that's why we're not getting it. Awesome. But to like shadow change the solicit and not update anyone on it, um, and I guess the other major issue I had recently was I got a chase booster from Collector's Trove. Got Prime Namor with the collectors with the Cosmic Cube. And I don't know if you've seen the post that they had given, but essentially it was production says that's how it's supposed to be, and you can only get the Serpent Crown and boosters. Not my problem. We're not replacing anything. So, like I talked with Adam, essentially it's like, here I've got this Prime with the inappropriate equipment, and like the trade and or resale value is just gone because it's not complete.
Right.
It is not what it should be. But I mean, I didn't plan on getting rid of my Prime Namor. That's one of the ones I wanted. It's just now I have to try and hunt down a second one to get the crown.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to getting to an event where I can play Prime Name more. I think that it has a lot of potential. I've had
Mm-hmm.
some online testing that I like. I mean, roll 20 can only take you so far, though.
Yep. Yep. And one of my issues with Roll 20 is like I don't have the characters physically in front of me.
Right.
So I'd make a lot more misplays because it's like, oh, I can't actively see what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I've only got one monitor, so it's not like I can have the dials pulled up on one screen and then the game on the other. So
Right. So now that Beetlejuice has been in modern for a hot minute, do you feel like the sky fell, or is he not as big of a threat as everybody predicted?
um I actually enjoy playing him. Uh it's one of those things where there's always the negative Nancy's throughout the various other podcasts where it's the sky's falling whenever anything remotely shakes what they consider the norm.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Beetlejuice is one of those things where you should just always plan for it, have some sort of minor contingency baked in. I'm not one that says you must play Chair Panther, but maybe have an attacker that doesn't rely exclusively on free actions.
Mm-hmm.
That's usually a good thing. Um, because I mean, the Ares bomb has been the big thing, right?
Right.
Well, you need a free action make a giant. No, you don't. Just most people they group up, the two or three, and then they split off into another group. Well, go after the two that are an issue, or go kill the Beetlejuice, or he's a figure that can die. It's not an issue.
Mm-hmm.
And all the online and in person games I've played, I personally have brought him from the sideline, not including the Omaha Icy Regional, like 6 times. And it's more of a, well, I need an extra prop for this attack coming up, so I'm going to get him out and get him where I need him. And then um, my game with Alex Mater at the Omaha Icy Regional, like, there were times where I seriously debated removing him and bringing him back just for, might need that extra free action, or he's double token and I didn't want him getting attacked, so I pulled him. But as far as the sky's falling, it's not. The meta will adjust.
Yeah.
Everyone very definitely is. He's been around long enough that planning has been made with him. Yes, there's the people that have dropped the $200 for Chair Panther and the Legacy card. That's one way to do it. Another way is just make it to where you can deal with the shape change. If you can charge punch him for 6 when he comes out on, click 1, he's almost dead. Or with my luck, it's I roll a 4. So yeah, all you got to do is tap him for what is it, 4, and he's just gone permanently.
Yeah. That was my experience. I brought him in on like his next to last click or something stupid, and
Mm-hmm.
well, that was fun.
Yeah, that's one of those where it's you look at it like, does leaving him out benefit me in any way, shape, or form? Or would it be better to not have a 100-point 2-click character sitting there that's got invuln and shape change as his only defense?
Right. So you played a Team Steel event with Scott and Lucas, right?
Yep. Yeah,
Um,
the last year's Tracy Brock Memorial.
yeah. What do they like to play with?
Well, with Lucas being my local, we do a lot of like playtesting in person, trying to figure out what figures work, and there may be that like creative itch, like, well, here's Prime Namor. Let's see how he works in actuality instead of theory, and you get some things turn out way better. Alex Mater is also another one of our locals, and um, he brought Cyborg Superman back into prominence. Like, when's the last time you looked at that figure and went, huh, I think I can make that work? But it's just that constant itch. Scott is very well known for being like that slower defensive player, prefers the defense over the offense, gives you that little chip away, gets up 5-10 points, and really hunkers down and makes it hard to KO anything. Um, One of my greatest claim to fame is during Adepticon last year, I made Scott Crampton attack first. But
So
yeah, Lucas, like, what the public sees in major tournaments is the very definite min max calculated risk reward style.
Mm-hmm.
But like locally, we like just playing aggressive. We're here to roll dice. Now, granted, I will take a bet on Lucas rolling against me rolling almost every time because he has notoriously bad dice rolls. Notoriously bad.
So
But
you have a
yeah,
pretty high level local play group. How many people do you have on a regular basis?
generally we have about six, sometimes seven.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Um, yep. It's we've got Lucas there and Alex Mater, and then Isaac Denke is from Team Phoenix, and so is Kevin Nelson, and then kind of a young up and comer Ethan Davis. He's been really working and working his way up, and every now and then we'll get a couple like newer players that are testing the game out, trying to see where they're feeling, but only one of them's really kind of stuck around, and he's kind of working more into the weekly rotation. So
Cool. Does your wife Natasha play HeroClix?
she used to, however, she absolutely hates losing any sort of game against me. And as I started, playing more and more competitively and sharpening them skills, it was a casual thing for her, and she won't sit down and play with it anymore.
Okay.
However, my 10-year-old daughter is really getting into it, and it's been fun really watching her kind of evolve as a player. We had Spider Verse sealed on Saturday, and I kind of was looking at her and asked her what she wanted to build out of her packs, and she built the team mostly by herself, and I did the math for her, and um, I didn't read anything. I just let her do her own thing, and she ended up playing the red symbiote at 15 points. She had read the card, and her favorite move was to basically throw it at an opponent, let him kill it, and throw it on Venom.
Um, how do you feel about the symbiotes? Like, do you kind of like them being a figure instead of just an equipment?
It's cool as a figure because like it's the comic accuracy. They were not just like, oh, I'm gonna grab that and make myself stronger. They're a living, thinking being.
Mm-hmm.
So it's nice being able to actually attack with them, and then as they get KO'd, yeah, you lose the points, but then you gain utility out of the equipment side of them. I wish there was an option to pay just as the equipment side, but I kind of understand why they didn't because that'd be how would you classify that? It'd be like back in the day with the Yu-Gi-Oh Clix. Here's the character side, and here's the equipment side. Except for those trap, anywhere from 3 to 5 points or whatever they were, it just didn't work because it took up dial space.
Do you think people are
It,
going to throw it out there like your daughter did to get killed, or are they going to kill it themselves with like one shots and stuff?
competitive wise, I think the one shots will be the way that gets done the most.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but that plasticity and being able to make it just a little difficult for your opponent for a turn, like she ended up tying up Moreland. He doesn't have improved movement. He doesn't have the jump away, and it stopped Moreland from getting into her force right away and just wreaking havoc. It allowed her to set up some shots and whittle him down a little bit. I definitely see the throwing it up there as more of the casual competitive side of things
Mm-hmm.
because taking care of it yourself is just a more efficient, controlled way to use it.
Right, you can't count on your opponent. I forget what piece it was. There's something a couple years ago that I needed to die, and I couldn't make it a tempting enough target for them to attack it. So
Yeah,
it really hindered my strategy. What piece was
yeah,
that?
like that's why like if you've looked at Mater's icy regional team, he plays Bat Prince specifically so he can self KO the Richard Pog, and then he gets the Superman ally in the KO area, which allows the Cyborg Superman to activate.
Mm-hmm.
It's that level of play where you control when and where it happens. I think is where the symbiotes will end up if they actually start making the teams. It'll I see him much more in use in pulp. Good tie up piece, and then when they do finally get KO'd, you get a pseudo equipment since equipment doesn't really matter in pulp because it doesn't happen.
Right. Um, if you could add one power to the PAC, what would it be and why?
Mm, I think bank shot would make a lot more sense. I don't know what color you do, but it'd be an attack power where it'd be, range, choose a square of blocking or a wall within half your range, and on a direct line from that, make an attack on a character half range. Like, because we've got all these marksmen, Cap can throw his shield.
Yep.
Like, there's so many instances in comics where they'll throw something and ricochet it off the wall to hit what they need to. Like Hawkeyes, they're known for trick shots.
Right.
It would just be it'd be nice.
I
The
like that.
closest I've been able to kind of pull that off has been with Chase Blink and her portal markers.
Yeah. I like that. That's cool. That's a cool idea. Huh. Um, who is the most famous person you've ever met?
Um, I had to actively deal with Will Smith back in the day when I worked for DirecTV.
Oh, cool.
Yep.
What's he like in person?
Unhappy. Yeah, it was. I knew part of it was like because his assistant couldn't deal with me because the assistant wasn't the account holder. Like having to come deal with Joe Schmo satellite guy.
Right.
Just yeah, it was a rough one. But yeah, that's the most famous person I've ever dealt with.
Did you get his autograph?
He was in no mood to sign anything. I suppose I could have like copied it off of the paperwork he had to sign, but that's illegal, and the company frowns on that.
Marvel or DC?
I'm very definitely a Marvel guy. I grew up, with the original '94 X-Men, and then the Amazing Spider-Man cartoon, um, and that was just because you know didn't really have cable, so we had the local channels, and Fox was the one that played those cartoons, and that was what I could get off antenna. And then when we finally ended up getting cable later in life, catching up on like Batman the Animated Series was nice. But by then I was firmly entrenched in the Marvel camp.
Nobody under the age of like 35 is going to ever understand having three channels on a good day.
Yeah, and don't forget if you wanted to play your Nintendo, TV was on channel 3.
Oh man, good times. What's
Mm-hmm.
your favorite MCU movie so far?
Ooh, I suppose it actually probably have to be the original X-Men movie because that was really good. Closely followed up by Spider-Man 2 with Tobey Maguire, not that uh, Andrew Garfield kid.
I guess that would technically be an MCU now, since they
Yep.
interwove them.
Yep.
Um, what is your most used character when you play HeroClix? Not the figure, but the most used character.
Um, if I'm not building a competitive team, I tend to gravitate towards my favorite character, Colossus. But now we have a competitive version of him, and I still haven't fielded him competitively.
He's fun. He's probably the most broken but still fun figure I've ever played with. A lot of times the broken
I
ones
did.
are not fun.
I enjoyed Prime Spidey, but um, having to play it every Friday with Alex was rough. Just
Yeah.
he knew it was going to be some form of Prime Spider-Man. It's like, I'm tired of this.
Yeah, some of the meta figures get player fatigued really fast.
Yeah, like Hadari's only been out for what 3-4 months now, and it's like I'm over it.
Yeah.
I'm done.
I don't know if it's so much player fatigue or people are scared of it. Because I remember last year when uh, plants made their debut on the meta field and dominated. And I went to an event right after that, and everybody was looking to see, okay, are people going to be playing plants, or are they going to be playing to counter the plants? and there wasn't one plant team at the event. Everybody was just
Hmm.
playing to counter them. So I don't know if people are just playing to counter Hidari because she's such a big threat, or they just don't like her.
Well, and part of it is it's the cost to get one. Like if you didn't pull one, like $200+ for a figure is always kind of a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah, I'm kicking
Um,
myself. I pulled one and I sold it before it was really huge, and I way
mm,
undersold it.
yeah. Um, and I had two, and I was, it's like double Hadaris aren't bad. It's nice, but I've got some international friends that have been looking, and their newest set has been next phase, so they're really struggling. I was like, well, I don't really need to, and he had a trade offer he was looking to offload. He's like, I'll give it you all for Hadar. He's like, how about you hold on to some of it, and I'll send it to you, and you can have fun with it.
Yeah.
So now he's terrorizing Spain with it. So and honestly, my favorite anti Hadari thing right now is Butterfly into Legacy Venus.
Let's see this. What does
No
she
shape
do?
change, and it cannot be evaded if they have the deity keyword.
Hmm. I need to look at that. I overlooked her, I guess.
Yep, it's been playtesting well. In my second venue, we have someone who likes to play Hadari a lot, and I much rather just like mind controlling or nuking his team with it.
Yeah. um, what is a character that's been made a lot, but they've never really gotten the right flavor for in HeroClix?
I honestly think it's probably Cyclops. That like in the early '90s, we had the Goody Two Shoe Cyclops,
Mm-hmm.
and then like the AVX era, we had that kind of like almost dictator like leader with the unbending. But we've never really had the like actively good leader helps the team as best he can. Like it's always he's always been just a running shot shoot figure.
Right.
Never that team mastermind, tactician that is the reason he's the leader of the X-Men. Like
Yep.
we've never had that proper version where he can hold his own in a fight, but he's more directing and assisting the team.
Yeah, I feel like certain characters like that kind of fall by the wayside because it's not very cinematic. Like,
Mm-hmm.
uh, like Leonardo from the Ninja Turtles always gets overlooked because, uh, yeah, he's
He,
supposed to be
he
the
becomes a
leader,
charged
but
blade figure.
yeah, he's not cool. You know, Cyclops just shooting stuff from his eyeballs is cooler than him giving orders.
Yeah, it's not just his mutant power that he's known for. It's the
Mm-hmm.
leadership, the skills, the strategy, the tactics. It's just that falls by the wayside because it's really hard to translate into clicks.
Yep. Um, so you have three wishes. I want to know what your second wish would be. Not the first one.
Mm-hmm.
What's your second wish?
Second wish. Well, because the first would be I wish the genie is truthful and honest in all dealings, and the second wish would be um, like not unlimited wealth, but being able to afford what I need to for like just a quiet, comfortable life.
I remember when I was really struggling about a decade ago, and uh, I was like, man, I just wish I had enough money to put gas in my car and not be watching the dial.
Yeah, it's like I want to be able to go to the grocery store, buy what I want, and not worry about the price. Because like, you know, being an overweight disabled vet, it's like got to watch what you're intaking and um 73.27 ground burger is about $2 cheaper than the 90.10. Um, I would much rather have the 90.10, but when you got to buy 2 pounds, that's $4. That's a whole nother roll of 73.27.
It adds up. Um,
Yep, absolutely. Being able to not worry about what you're spending. That's all I've ever really wanted.
That's pretty good. What number am I thinking of?
Looking at you, you're thinking number 31.
No.
Ah, well.
Um, do you listen to a lot of the other podcasts?
Um, I listen to Critical Clicks. Clixing it is starting up again. Um, and talking with Adam, I'll probably end up co-hosting that one with him a lot. Um, for a while, I was listening to Dan's Clicked Off, but it's just sometimes I don't have 4 hours to devote to it. And there's good info there. It's just sometimes I ain't got the time. Same with the JSA podcast. I listen to them a lot. It's just those are kind of like my long road trip podcasts because
Yeah.
just I ain't got the time half the time. And then um, I used to be a patron of Dial H, and I think the last episode I listened to was when Hunter Smith was the original host. So, and I give Calder crap about that all the time.
Hmm. Sorry, have you heard about Aqua Miles and
Oh,
Westpool
yep,
and
I did forget. I do listen to the Generation Clicks. That's another one of those like their episodes are usually right around that 2 hour mark.
right?
So Two Sioux Falls and back for me. That's a good episode. Um, I haven't listened to any of Aqua Miles and stuff yet. I kind of late to get a little backlog and then jump into that stuff.
Well, Aqua
Um,
Miles and I have a ongoing little rivalry because he doesn't like Westpool and Westpool doesn't like Aqua Miles, so they're constantly razzing each other on
have
YouTube
you
and
settled it with an arm wrestling
well,
match?
we haven't they haven't been able to meet yet. Every event that Westpool goes to, Aqua Miles isn't there, and same the other way. So one of these days
Well,
we're gonna get
when you're in,
together.
I mean, to be fair, Aqua Miles' internet is currently controlled by a hamster and a wheel, and I think his sled dog team died. So,
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that the postal service there is run by hamsters.
last I heard, it was a couple beavers, but
Yep. He sent me a package that the tracking just didn't move for like a month, and then ended up on his doorstep again, and it was supposed to come to me. uh,
I don't know if that's indicative of the Oregon postal system or the postal system in general.
well, I think it's pretty much him. Although I had a bad experience recently with mine, but mine is usually pretty good. Um, it's just for some reason, anytime that anything comes or goes from Oregon, it's a mess. But well, so my alter ego is Westpool. Miles has Aqua Miles. Ryan Redmond is Rebgorn. What would be your superhero alter ego?
The Blob.
um, if you could design a dial for a single figure, what would you choose?
Um, I I've been quite happy with how my favorite characters have been done, but it would probably be Colossus when he fully let Cytorak take control. It would be, he'd be that big old beat stick. He'd have Mystics and Cosmic, full movement charge, super strength traded, and I think in this day and age, I'd probably bring back Colossal Stamina specifically for that.
Cool, cool. What is the peak of your HeroClix career goal? Like, what are you aiming to achieve someday?
Um, Making it two nationals or worlds. Every time I've attempted to, I just had stuff come up and haven't been able to. Um, I'm trying to make sure I hit all the major tournaments at some point. And those are kind of the last two I need to hit.
Do you plan on trying to make it to Red, White, and Clicks?
Um, that's in November.
Yep.
If time allows and I've got the funds, more than likely, I'll head down. King of New Orleans is starting to get bigger too, so I'll probably have to get to that at some point. And as far as like just making the tournament, that's one thing, but top cut is always the bare minimum I aim for. One of these days, I'll take a major title.
When you go to competitions, are you just playing the meta, or do you kind of take your own unique team to try and make it good?
Um, I tend to play what I like, and it's that like major events. It's not I practiced the team twice. Let's go. I put a lot of time in. Like what was it? For about a year and a half, I played double surfer teams just constantly, even before it had kind of spiked the meta.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I did the double Hadari. I played well, but the fatigue with that was kind of hitting. Um, I also like to kind of counter build the meta. Since we don't currently have a anti-equipment setup like a King Killmonger, Legacy Iron Man has been what I've kind of leaned on. Um, yeah, it's extraordinarily difficult to deal with if you don't have an unequipped character.
Um, who is a competitor that you haven't played yet that you'd like to meet?
But Matty G. Because as far as like the who's who of HeroClix, I mean, I deal with Lucas every Friday, along with Mater. I've played Scott. I've played Dan. I've played George, um, Patrick Frazier. Like, with the exception of Ben Chung and uh, I missed Tyler Spees at Adepticon last year. We just didn't match up. I have played almost every single one of the world champs, except for some of the couple early ones. Um, but yeah, like I always hear about Matty G, and you know, sounds like he's a good guy, real good player. Just never got to play him yet.
Cool. Um, so you've been pretty vocal, especially recently, about some of your uh, quote unquote beef with kids. Um, have you gotten frustrated enough to where you thought about leaving the game, or are you just kind of vocal about how you wish they would make it better, but you're not really that fed up with it?
I enjoy the game. The company has its issues.
Mm-hmm.
I'll stick it out because I mean, with how Spider Verse went, things may be trending in the right direction. It's one of those times we'll tell things. I do know that they took Dara. She was the COO of the HeroClix branch, and she's now the vice president of operations for WizKids. Bringing Ryan in was probably one of the best things they've done. Dova apparently is doing really well. PJ's now in playtesting, so we might actively get things that work right.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they should probably hire an English professor to make the sentencings work on some things, but yeah, they're you can see the attempt to be made on stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm not one that complains about the pogs and the retail boosters because like I'm not a completionist. That doesn't really bug me. It's cool, but the only one I have is Timebreaker because I like its utility.
The pogs are probably the only thing that I am actively perturbed by because I am a completionist. I do. I don't. I enjoy collecting as almost much as I like playing, but
Mm-hmm.
aside from that, even just for competitive, they make these pogs have incredible abilities for a very cheap point cost, which makes them high competitive level, but then they're impossible to get.
Yeah, and I know like on the meta side of things, Like if they were like the flaming tuba, like let's be honest, no one's spending $100 for that thing. But Weasel, yeah, I understand why it's as expensive as it is, the scarcity and what it does. But I don't need that to compete personally. And every time I see it, it's like, cool, there's an easy 10 points.
I definitely
Because
think that no, there shouldn't be anything in the chase booster that isn't available in the normal set in the brick boosters.
absolutely. Like, I'm all for advocating, there being like, I don't remember who said it, but in the legacy card pack, it's one legacy card, one booster
Hmm.
or bystander. That'd be great. It still keeps the desirability and like rarity of them out there, but
Right.
it gets more into the community, which then means more people that want them for like the collector's purposes aren't forking out $150, $200 for a single little poker chip.
I mean, I
One
know
of the other,
they can't care that much about the secondary market, but it does impact the game.
Mhm. Well, think about it. When they prevented Brock's bunker from being used at Worlds was because, and I quote, limited availability.
Right.
I don't know about your local store, but the two I go to, we can get a grand total of two chase boosters,
Yep.
and so. Yeah, you start factoring that by stores. I know other ones get more, but there's not a whole lot of these floating around, and then it's not like they supply just boatloads of them for major tournaments.
No, I like the idea of the chase boosters. I just wish the pogs were handled a little differently.
That'd be nice. One of the things I greatly appreciate about the chase boosters is it gets more chase out there. So as like that's what I like to collect. I like to collect the like the chase themes if they're a good one,
Yep.
and the chase boosters. More chase to get out there, so their prices are lower.
Like
With the
I am a
exception of Hadari.
completionist, so like I've only completed two sets. One was the Deadpool. What's the last one?
Deadpool Force or Weapon X.
X Force. I just completed that one a couple years ago, and then I have completed the Weapon X because I don't count the pods.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it was kind of funny, like just incidentally, I was going through some stuff and I realized I've got the entire set of Collector's Trove minus Doctor Doom, which is coming in the mail. So, and that wasn't like I actually sought out to collect it. It's just purchases and then um like battle royals and sealed that we do at the venue. It's
Mm-hmm.
oh, I have the whole set. Cool.
So, uh, what's something that Whiskas does well that you appreciate about them?
Um, what I greatly appreciate is like it's not like back in the day where you maybe had three sets a year. It seems we get a set at least once a quarter, so we're at four, maybe five. This year's looking a little wonky because of production delays and shipping delays.
Mm-hmm.
Because yeah, we're slated for. We just had Collector's Trove, Spider Verse comes out tomorrow, Smash and Destroy, Lantern Legacy, and that's only up through what, July?
Yeah. Did they push it back to August? I think. I don't know. Somewhere
Something
around
like
there.
something like that.
Yeah.
But then we'll have either a fall set or a winter set, so we're at five, which that's great. I just wish they were a little spaced out more, but again, that's the whole shipping and production issues, not really within their control.
Well, me
And
personally, I'm hoping that lanterns get pushed back to November so I can release it with my event.
yeah, oh yeah. Um, and then the other thing I greatly appreciate is the iconics. Um, People have complained, well, it's Beetlejuice is ruining the meta, and it only costs $20. Cool, it levels the playing field for the people that want to get competitive,
Right.
and they don't have access to the Hadaris or the Weasel Pogs and stuff like that. It's a playing field leveler,
Well,
and then on top of that,
that's what the community liked about Kong was that it was a
yep,
meta piece that was $30, available anywhere.
And what I greatly appreciate about them is that like it's not just Marvel or DC. They're starting to branch out on them IPs, so it's great. It's a way to get some iconic figures
Mm-hmm.
into HeroClix. Like, do I wish there were some other IPs like Godzilla? That'd be cool. Probably never going to happen, just because legal rights for toy making on that. And but if we could get like some unclicks characters or characters that haven't been clicks in forever, or fan favorite characters that don't get done right,
Right.
like the first appearance Wolverine, the first appearance Avengers, those were cool.
Yeah,
Now,
I was thinking that because they obviously work with DC and Warner Brothers because we got,
Mhm.
DC obviously we got Beetlejuice. Well, Looney Tunes is a part of that universe.
well, we got the Scooby Doo clicks.
Yep. But think about the wild, wacky interactions we get with some Looney Tunes stuff going on. Kind of like the Spider Pig.
Oh yeah, it'd be great. However, I know it's weird to think of it, but like the clicks community in general is trending towards older now,
Yep.
so it would make sense in a way for the Looney Tunes, but that's not going to draw your newer, younger players in because who's that? My kid barely knows who Bugs Bunny is.
Oh, man.
Yeah, but along them lines of thoughts, I mean, they've been working with Marvel, which is owned by Disney.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine like a Disney villain set?
That'd be
That'd be
awesome.
fun.
Yeah, that would be. Um, well, I don't want to take too much of your time. Is there anything else you'd like to talk about before we wrap this up?
Um, as someone who's played multiple collectible games competitively, I can say this with empirical evidence. The HeroClix community, with the exception of maybe one or two people, is by far and away the most inclusive, friendly, and more importantly, enjoyable community to be a part of.
I 100%
One of my
agree.
first, yep, one of my first competitive HeroClix tournaments ever was hosted in a venue that was also having like some sort of competitive Magic event going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I was on a table that was next to like the bottom table for Magic, and it was your typical big, fat, sweaty neckbeard nerd that has been plastered throughout the media, and maybe like a 12, 13-year old kid. This is bottom table. They're not winning anything, and the kid apparently would beat the older guy, and he lost his temper to the point where he screamed and flipped the table.
Oh,
Yeah, I mean, bro, this is like a 13-year-old kid. You're playing with cardboard,
yeah,
and you're so far down the standings, you're not winning jack. There's no reason for that.
yeah.
Um, and then like the Yu-Gi-Oh community, I used to play that competitively back in the day. Uh, to my knowledge, it is the only one that has active tournament rules about body hygiene, and I'm not joking about that. You can
Yeah,
get DQ'd for being smelly.
I've heard about that.
Yeah. Um, Also, like, there's been no other game I've played where it's like, well, I kind of want to try this meta thing, but I don't have the money to afford it. We have groups like the Mooching House. Like, you ain't got to worry about it.
Yep.
I mean, my secondary venue is all newer players. I typically hand out about $1,000 worth of plastic when we play competitive stuff because they don't own it.
Yep.
You will never see a Magic deck that's worth $1,400 not in the hands of the owner.
Now, there's a handful at my local venue that we have a unwritten rule that as long as we're not actively using the figure in an event, it's a free for all. What's mine is yours. As long as you bring it back in one piece.
Yeah, that's how it is with the venue with Lucas and everything. Like we've got five of us that buy plenty of the set or trade and everything. It's
Mm-hmm.
like if you want to build a meta team, even if the figure's being used, there's probably a second or even fifth copy floating around. We'll get you set up.
Yep.
I
Um,
mean, I know Lucas is pack muling a map to Matt Ventura for me. Like, I'm sending him a Brock's bunker
nice.
just because he needs it.
Yep.
Cool. Like, I have no issues. I guarantee it's going to come back because that's one of, like, when's the last time you heard any community member stealing from another community member?
Right.
Now, there was the horror stories back in the day where I can't remember who it was, but they had their entire collection stolen out of their car at Gen Con. And there was that one year one guy got mugged, but that wasn't community members.
There were some custom maps that came up missing at my event last year, but I don't. I'm not saying that it was deliberate. It might have been an accident because there was a lot. Everybody was just. We had 80 people there. Like it was insane.
Yep, it was a big one.
Um, I heard this question on the Generation Clix last week. With the mimic on the sideline, what is your opinion about sportsmanship as far as I declare that I'm going to pick up this object, and you say, okay, well, I'm rolling for mimic, and then I say, whoa, I changed my mind. I don't want to do that. Where do you stand on that?
Generally, especially like with the venues I play at, with the new one and then the hyper competitive,
Mm-hmm.
it's one of those where as long as it's not going to actively affect, like the major game standing, right? It's a 50% chance I'm bringing Mimic out.
Right.
As like, if you could do what you're doing without it, like without picking up the object or whatever, okay, as long as it's not going to actually affect it, by all means, take it back. However, if you're being one of those jackwagons and the know-it-all or the cocky attitude, I'm gonna charge, pick up the heart-shaped herb. All right, mimic. Nope, you declared your action. You want to play that game? I'll play that game. But I have had one game where I got a little testy,
Mm-hmm.
and that was my top 16 match during Rock Cup, and part of it was, good lord, top 16. We were playing at like 7, 8 at night. Been there all day. I don't know if you're there or not, but the heat plus no air conditioning. I was not in a good mood. My opponent was kind of playing slow, and he's even a teammate of mine, and I got upset with him because I thought he was slow playing. But after I was all said and done, I got cooled down and talked with him. I was like, I get it, and he straight up told me it was because he was nervous.
Right. I'll never forget
But
my first event. It was Kilted Classic a couple years ago, and it was my first competitive event ever. And the first person I sat across from, I forgot how to place action tokens. Like my brain just went.
well, and I guess that's one of the nice things about the venue I play at. Like, I forget that like Alex and Lucas are like kind of titans of the community.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I play with them every Friday, so like when I sit across from like a George or a Dan, it's just another player. Like,
Right.
it's a good player, but just another player.
Yeah. That's
And I didn't realize that kind of extended my way, because that was why my teammate Michael had gotten so nervous. Like, he told me after the game, he's like, I was just really nervous to play you because like your name comes up all the time. I was like, it
right.
does.
Yeah. It's one of the things. Piggybacking off what you were saying about the community, that we're very good about. We're just friends. We're just guys, girls rolling dice. I give Miles Kane a lot of crap because he's my friend, and we can razz each other
Yep.
like that.
Well, and like Origins this last year,
Mhm.
I ended up bringing my daughter with, and it was me, Lucas, and Mater, but then we shared the house with Barnstable and Aaron Morgan, and then Az ended up staying with us, and then Jalen was coming over since he lives there in town, and It was just one of those where, like, I had never met those guys in person. Like, I'd kind of known them a little bit.
Right.
I had no issue sharing a house with them with my 10-year-old daughter because that's how awesome the community
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna wrap this up here, but thank you so much for being here, and I look forward to seeing you at events. I really enjoyed talking to you, man. You're an awesome dude.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate the conversation.
All right, thanks, Ethan. Have a good one.
Yeah, you too.